Welcome to the Special Forces in World War II podcast, transmitting on this frequency. This broadcast is your dedicated channel for comprehensive intelligence regarding World War II Special Forces operations. Our transmissions encompass in-depth analysis of their strategic maneuvers, cutting-edge equipment, illustrious biographies, and an array of pertinent subjects. The orchestration of these transmissions is executed by the expert team of the Special Forces in World War II website, a squad deeply immersed in the historical theatre. For further insights, visual aids, and captured moments frozen in time, navigate to our virtual headquarters at worldwar2-soft.com. Your immersion into the front lines of knowledge awaits. Over and out. Welcome back to another episode of the Special Forces in World War II podcast, where we explore the bold, the daring, and the extraordinary tactics of the Special Forces in World War II that helped shape the outcome of the greatest conflict in modern history. I'm your host, Michael Wires, and as always, we're here to unravel the hidden stories behind the daring exploits of World War II. March 1945. The Rhine lies ahead, and beyond it, the final Allied thrust into the heart of Hitler's collapsing Reich. But before the tanks cross the river, a select unit is already moving, fast, light, and dangerously alone. This is Operation Archway, a mission that places the men of the Special Air Service at the very tip of the spear, operating deep behind German lines. Their orders to support the advancing Allied armies by disrupting enemy movements, seizing key objectives, and relaying critical intelligence, all while under constant threat. In this first episode of a two-part series, we follow the Special Air Service from their assembly in Belgium through their daring advance across the Netherlands and into Germany. We track their actions in support of airborne landings near Wesel, their lightning raids, and the relentless pace that defines their mission. This is not just the story of fast vehicles and heavier guns. It is a story of courage, chaos, and men operating far from the safety of the main lines. In Part 2, we continue the story into April and May 1945, as the Special Air Service pushes deeper into Germany, liberates prisoners, and witnesses the final unraveling of the Germany's Nazi regime. This is Operation Archway, March 1945. But let's start at the beginning. Operation Archway begins with a reconnaissance assignment for the U.S. 18th Airborne Corps, scheduled to parachute east of the Rhine. After the drop, British forces are to push deep into Germany, advancing ahead of the main Allied thrust towards the Baltic port of Kiel. The operation adopts an unusual structure. It operates in small, independent groups, guided by broad directives. Strength and composition remain fluid. At the outset, there are 4 groups. Each group includes about 15 jeeps. Lieutenant Colonel Brian Franks, commanding officer of the 2nd Special Air Service, leads the operation. The unit is named Frankforce after him. It consists of 2 reinforced squadrons from 1 and 2 Special Air Service regiments. Together, they total around 300 men. The 1st Special Air Service squadron contains 3 troops. Each troop is divided into 3 sections, with each section fielding 3 jeeps. The squadron has 155 men in total. Its headquarters holds a reserve of 12 jeeps and includes a 3-inch mortar section. Major Harry Pote commands the squadron. Lieutenant Mike McNaught leads the headquarters troop. Captain Alex Muirhead commands a troop, also known as M Troop. Major Bill Fraser leads C Troop, while Major John Tonkin commands T Troop. Captain G. White is responsible for rear support, known as B Echelon. Major P. L. J. Lepeur Power commands the 2nd Special Air Service Squadron. It mirrors the structure of one Special Air Service, but includes only 2 troops. Together with Frankforce headquarters, This squadron numbers 129 men. In the final days before departure, the men receive a new fleet of jeeps. Each vehicle features 2 armored glass windscreens, 2 inches thick, protecting the driver and front gunner. Additional armor plating reinforces the front. Most jeeps are armed with single or twin-mounted Vickers machine guns. Every third jeep carries a .50 caliber Browning heavy machine gun, complete with a mounted searchlight for night operations. Ammunition drums are fixed to the bonnet and side panels. Each jeep also carries a bazooka and a Bren gun in the rear compartment. In total, the force fields 75 armed jeeps. Some are fitted with 3-inch mortars. Additional support comes from several 1,500-weight trucks and 3-ton lorries. Troops receive flak jackets, though many abandon them due to their bulk and restriction of movement. For security reasons, all personnel replace their Special Air Service and airborne berets with the black beret of the Royal Tank Regiment. This measure follows confirmation that captured Special Air Service troops risk execution under the German Commando Order. Soldiers remove all reference to the Special Air Service from identity cards and paybooks. Radio protocols are also revised. From this point on, they refer to themselves only as the Little Ones. Shortly before the operation begins, Field Marshal Bernard Montgomery visits the men. He praises their actions in North Africa, Sicily, and Italy. He urges them to press forward into Germany with determination. However, some within the regiment object to his closing words, which called for the total destruction of the enemy without distinction. On March 20th, 1945, Frankfurt lands at Ostend, Belgium. This marks the beginning of its operational deployment in support of the final Allied advance into northern Germany. By the following day, the main body assembles in Brie, a small town near the Belgian-Dutch border. A smaller column travels east to join them, moving through Louvain and Diest. Both towns remain largely untouched since the swift Allied advances the previous autumn. In Brie, around 50 jeeps stand in close formation outside the school. The yard is busy. Men of the 1st and 2nd Special Air Service mingle with quartermasters not yet committed to action. Captain Ian Wellstead, second in command of C Troop, sets up headquarters inside the schoolhouse. After a briefing on the unit's upcoming role, he makes his way to the local estaminet. There he informs Major Bill Fraser of C Troop and Major John Tonkin of D Troop of their arrival. Before discussions can progress, Wellstead is called back to Frankfort's headquarters. He is ordered to accompany a captain from the 2nd Special Air Service into Germany to reconnoiter night harbor locations. The next morning, March 22nd, 1945, Wellstead departs at approximately 11 o'clock. He leaves Captain Johnny Cooper and Lieutenant Tony Trower in charge of C Troop. Traveling in a single jeep, he and the 2 Special Air Service captain drive east through the western suburbs of Roermond. They pause near Venlo for a late lunch at a roadside inn, washed down with local beer. Afterward, they cross the Maas at Venlo via a Bailey pontoon bridge. The scene is bleak. Rubble litters the streets. Military police direct traffic through the damage. They press on into Germany. Dense Dannet wire fences confirm they have crossed the frontier. They pass through Stadtstrahlen, Gelden, and Kapellen. All bear scars of heavy fighting. Dazed civilians wander among the ruins. Convoys of armor and guns grind forward towards the Rhine. Near Sunsbeck, the 2 Special Air Service captains searches for the assigned harbor area. Exhausted from days without rest, Wellstead curls up on kit in the jeep and sleeps. Distant artillery rumbles across the Rhine. At 1700 hours, Lieutenant Colonel Brian Franks wakes Wellstead. Soon after, the 2 Special Air Service officer returns. He guides them to a wooded site near a farmhouse off the Kapellen-Issem road. Wellstead marks the 1st Special Air Service area. As night falls, he shares a meal with Franks inside the farmhouse. Later, Wellstead lies beside his jeep, resting his head on his boots, Tommy gun beside him. He drifts into sleep. An hour later, headlights break the stillness. Engines growl. Shouts echo through the woods. The main body of Frankfurt arrives at 23:30, 3 hours early. In pitch dark, Wellstead alone must guide the 1st Special Air Service into their assigned positions. He succeeds in positioning headquarters and D Troop, but half of A Troop veers into the 2 Special Air Service area by mistake. The 2 Special Air Service captain is furious. A troop is forced to relocate and vents its frustration. Torchlight and headlamps flicker through the trees. The noise and lights risk revealing their presence to nearby enemy artillery. No enemy response follows. Soon, the men settle. Petrol stoves hiss as tea is brewed. Wellstead walks from section to section, passing cocoa and apologies for the confusion. It is well past midnight when he returns to his sleeping bag. On the evening of March 23, 1945, orders arrive stating that only C Troop will take part in the river crossing the next morning. The rest of the force is to remain in reserve, prepared for the breakout. C Troop receives priority for weapons, equipment, and vehicles. Captain George White, quartermaster of the 1st Special Air Service and commander of Frankfurt's B Echelon, distributes essential supplies. A wireless-equipped unarmored jeep from the 2nd Special Air Service is assigned to the troop. That same evening, Lieutenant Mike McNaught and Sergeant Kendall of Headquarters Troop arrive. They had missed the departure from Brie, but reach the harbor safely. Both are reassigned from a squadron to act as close protection for Captain Ian Wellstead. By nightfall, preparations are nearly complete. One absence remains. Corporal Bunker Burgess is repatriated to Great Britain on compassionate grounds. His place is taken by Private R. Owen of the 2nd Special Air Service, a German anti-Nazi refugee who fled after Hitler's rise and later became a British citizen. Just after sunset, the Royal Air Force begins bombing Wesel. At the same time, the 1st Commando Brigade launches assault boats into the fast-flowing Rhine. The night leading into March 24, 1945, is filled with tension. Before bedding down, a dispatch rider informs Major Bill Fraser that C Troop is on 1 hour's notice. As the men lie in their sleeping bags, the ground trembles beneath the weight of Allied artillery fire. At dawn, word reaches the unit that the commandos have taken Wesel with few losses. Frankfurt receives orders to cross the river that afternoon. However, C Troop is once again placed in reserve. Command warns that the limited number of buffaloes may prevent them from crossing. During the night, Lieutenant Peter Weaver arrives from England with a shipment of .5 Browning machine guns. Fitters begin work at once, mounting the weapons onto vehicles. By mid-morning, the sky is alive with activity. Dakotas and gliders pass overhead in waves. Later, liberators return from supply drops, flying low across the trees. At 1600 hours, orders are given to move out. A long column of armored jeeps advances north, kicking up clouds of dust. They reach a field west of Xanten and go into harbor. On the night of March 25, 1945, the plan to cross the Rhine is abandoned. The strong current has carried away the pontoon bridge. The troops remain in their harbor positions. That evening, Lieutenant Colonel Paddy Mayne, commanding officer of the 1st Special Air Service, arrives to assess the front and deliver news. Troopers Davies and Brown of Captain Johnny Cooper's section have been awarded the Military Medal for operations in Sardinia. Throughout the night, German aircraft attack the area. One low-flying plane comes within range of a .5 Browning gunner, who opens fire. Across the Rhine to the north, the battle for Ries continues to rage, with gunfire echoing through the night. In the early hours of the day, the unit relocates to a new assembly area near Xanten. By 11 o'clock, they arrive at the river's edge, where buffaloes stand ready. These tracked, amphibious vehicles have high waterproof sides, light weapons, and rear ramps. Each can carry one jeep at a time. The crossing begins. Jeeps disembark on the far bank and follow marked tracks to a concentration area. There, the men wait for other units to arrive. Some rest on the grass, sleeping in the warm spring sunlight. Later that afternoon, the column moves out. They pass through the village of Marwick and follow a narrow railway line east. The route hugs the northern bank of the Rhine towards Wesel. The troops harbour in a wood on the outskirts. As Captain Alex Muirhead's A Troop enters the wood, snipers fire on the leading jeep. A thorough search reveals no enemy. The surrounding terrain shows signs of fierce combat. Trees are splintered by shell fire. Trenches and dugouts cover the area. Burned-out equipment lies scattered. Bodies remain where they fell. A German mortar team, caught in an American flamethrower attack, has been killed at their post. At a nearby farm, 2 German soldiers are taken prisoner. Crates of American Army K rations are found among the abandoned supplies. A sudden rifle crack cuts through the air. Sergeant Cornelius Maggie McGinn is hit by a sniper. Another search is launched, but again the gunman escapes detection. Later that evening, more shots ring out nearby. With enemy patrols likely and snipers still active, strong sentries are posted. Bren guns are positioned to defend the perimeter. For the first watch, Trooper Swag Jemson and Captain Ian Wellstead man a deserted slit trench. The sniper resumes firing. Bullets pass within inches of Wellstead's head. He shifts to reduce his profile. Small arms fire increases in the distance. Stray rounds buzz through the treetops. As darkness deepens, enemy aircraft attack the bridgehead. Allied anti-aircraft guns respond in force. Shell fragments rain down on the woods. Searchlights from the west bank sweep the river, scanning for mines and miniature submarines. Each beam draws heavy machine gun fire. Tracers cut through the blackness. A sniper on the 2 Special Air Service flank nearly hits Lieutenant Colonel Brian Franks. Orders are given for all men to wear their steel helmets through the night. On March 26, 1945, the 1st and 2nd Special Air Service part company after their initial joint deployment. The 1st Special Air Service is ordered to conduct reconnaissance patrols in support of the 18th U.S. Airborne Corps, particularly the British 6th Airborne Division. These patrols push northeast from Hamminkeln, crossing ground recently taken during Operation Varsity. The task is to probe enemy lines, identify strongpoints, watch withdrawal routes, and locate river crossings as the British drive onto the North German plain. The 2nd Special Air Service is attached to the 6th Independent Guards Armoured Brigade near Schirmbeck. Their orders are to advance ahead of the main formation, carry out deep reconnaissance, harass retreating German units, and clear resistance, blocking the armoured push towards the Weser. That night, Captain Ian Wellstead lies under his jeep attempting to sleep. Around midnight, gunfire rises sharply. He reports to Major Harry Pote and sees a sniper's muzzle flash aimed in their direction. Returning to his troop, Wellstead doubles the guard and patrols until 3 a.m. before trying again to rest before dawn. At first light, the shooting eases. The men realize the harbor sits less than 1 kilometer from the front line. Wellstead's jeep is marked by a fresh hole from a shell fragment. Others show similar damage. A tire is punctured, but no one is injured. At 7:30, orders arrive from squadron headquarters. The 2nd Special Air Service is now fully under the command of the 18th Airborne Corps. The 6th Airborne Division has not yet crossed the Rhine in full. The northern flank remains exposed. The 2nd Special Air Service is assigned to protect it. Wellstead's troop is placed on standby at Corps headquarters. He is told to report immediately. The headquarters, located a few kilometers north, is jointly manned by British and American staff. The role is clear: support the 6th Airborne Division and fill the reconnaissance gap on the exposed northern side. Throughout the day, The 2 Special Air Service eliminates several enemy machine gun nests. These positions had halted the 6th Airborne's progress. The squadron secures 1,500 meters of ground before the main infantry arrives. Over 40 prisoners are taken. Several Germans are killed. 3 jeeps receive light damage. No casualties are suffered within the squadron. That evening, Captain Wellstead returns to Sniper's Alley to collect Major Harry Pote and Major Bill Fraser. They travel together for a command conference. During the of March 27, 1945, the men enjoy a rare rest. They sleep through the night beneath tarpaulins stretched between their jeeps. After lunch, the troop returns to Sniper's Alley. The area is nearly deserted. Major Bill Fraser, Captain Alex Muirhead, and Major John Tonkin from 1st Special Air Service have already moved forward in support of the 6th Airborne Division. Most of the 2 Special Air Service has also advanced under the operational command of the 6th Independent Guards Armored Brigade. The wider formation, the 18th U.S. Airborne Corps, is tasked with a major thrust towards Münster. The objective is to advance southeast from Wesel and capture crossings over the Dortmund-Ems Canal. The 2 Special Air Service supports this move by providing reconnaissance, flank security, and fast strike capabilities. Their mission is to maintain momentum and clear obstacles before the armor arrives. The 1st Special Air Service is ordered to move up under the guidance of Captain Padre Fraser McCluskey. Their task is to support the 6th Airborne Division on the left flank. Major Fraser soon rejoins the unit. His troop is directed to support Canadian paratroopers attempting to seize a small wood. The Canadians have already tried once to clear the wood. They were driven back by intense machine gun fire. 8 men were lost during the first assault. Enemy guns are still firing from within the trees. Major Fraser's troop is sent forward to retake the ground. The patrol moves quietly. They close to within 30 meters of the German line without being seen. Once in position, they fan out and prepare to attack. Fraser leads from the front. He drives his jeep across open ground in a bold charge. Suddenly, a burst of Spandau fire erupts from a hedge to the flank. Bullets strike the rear of the vehicle. Fraser is hit in the hand. Wounded, he passes command to his second-in-command, Captain Ian Wellstead. Captain Muirhead steps in to direct the assault. He coordinates a heavy barrage using Vickers K machine guns and .5 Browning heavy weapons. The enemy are pinned in their trenches. Rear gunners dismount and begin advancing on foot. Squadron Sergeant Major Reg Seekings leads the final sweep through the wood. His section captures a 50mm anti-tank gun. The weapon had been guarding the road but is silent under the weight of the Special Air Service fire. The fight is short and decisive. 10 German soldiers are killed. 32 are taken prisoner. The wood is cleared completely. Sniper nests are destroyed. Control of the ground is handed back to the Canadian paratroopers. During the night of March 28, 1945, the men of the 1st Special Air Service again enjoy a well-earned rest. They sleep under tarpaulins stretched between their jeeps. Reveille is called at 5 a.m., but departure is delayed. Sergeant Jeff Duvivier fails to wake Captain Fraser McCluskey on time. Further confusion follows as the column becomes lost in the bombed-out ruins of Wesel. Several false starts slow progress. A failed attempt to turn around in a blind alley causes chaos. 2 smoke generators are accidentally discharged, further adding to the delay. Eventually, the unit finds the correct route and moves east, heading deeper into Germany. Later that morning, they arrive at a farm north of Schirmbeck. The rest of the 1 Special Air Service is still at breakfast. Major Harry Pote briefs Captain Ian Wellstead. His troop is to relieve the others in support of the 6th Airborne Division. The rest of the unit is returning to Wesel to rest. Wellstead's first task is to dispatch Lieutenant Red Hunter and Sergeant Duvivier. They escort a paratroop officer reconnoitering the next forming-up point. At 9:30, the troop moves out. They follow the divisional center line. On the road, weary paratroopers trudge east. Some drag captured German guns for use against their former owners. Far ahead, the deep thump of mortars and scattered rifle fire marks the front. By 11 o'clock, near the village of Elbe, new orders arrive. The 6th Airborne Division is to advance 11 kilometers and take positions along the railway beyond Rhine. Light resistance is expected. The road is said to be clear as far as Ostrich, 1.5 kilometers ahead. The Special Air Service is to lead the way, scout enemy positions, and support the infantry with firepower. The orders are direct. Get the infantry into raid. Lieutenant Tony Trower takes the lead with his section. Captain Wellstead follows in his headquarters jeep. Squadron Sergeant Major Reg Seekings rides beside him in the wireless jeep, which has joined after the disbandment of Major Fraser's command. Lieutenant Hunter and Captain Johnny Cooper's sections move behind them. Major Pote follows at the rear to observe the operation. The column weaves through the shattered streets of Elbe. Nearby, the echo of a self-propelled gun rings out. At the edge of the town, the road crosses open fields. Ahead lies a screen of trees around Ostrich. A paratroop officer in a ruined house attempts to locate the enemy gun, but without success. The rest of the airborne troops pass south of the town. The jeeps move cautiously onto the road. To the left, a troop of British tanks warms their engines. Everything ahead is still and silent. The column halts at Ostrich. Lieutenant Trower consults the crews of a dingo armored car and a tank. Both wait for the Special Air Service to take the lead. The paratroopers trail behind, still over 1 kilometer away. "I'll take the lead," says the dingo commander. He moves up beside the lead jeep. Trower waves him through. A tank follows behind. At that moment, a young German soldier bursts from the roadside scrub. He fires a Panzerfaust. The rocket hits the dingo dead center. Flames and smoke erupt. At once, machine guns open from both sides of the woods. The air fills with fire. The Special Air Service responds instantly. Vickers K and Browning machine guns roar into life. The noise is deafening. Bullets scream across the road. Ricochets snap through trees and stone. Wellstead has placed his jeep fourth in line. He avoids the front to reduce risk, remembering how Major Fraser was hit. But he quickly sees that no plan survives contact. The din is overwhelming. Orders cannot be heard. The battle becomes a test of nerve and initiative. At the front, Lieutenant Trower's jeeps reverse frantically. The tank attempts to back away beside a farmhouse. Trooper Dixie Dean finds an opening and drives forward. He takes cover beside a large barn. Trooper Brinkley, his rear gunner, falls off while reversing and runs back to rejoin the group. Sergeant Maggie McGinn's jeep is trapped between the tank and another vehicle. It is abandoned. The crew dives into a ditch and begins firing carbines from cover. Wellstead reverses slowly, staying on the left side of the road. The steady fire from his Browning offers some reassurance. Sergeant Geordie Cunningham's jeep races back on the right. The surviving jeeps cluster defensively near the burning barn. No Germans are yet visible. Wellstead runs to the tank, climbs up the rear, and shouts to the commander. The tank officer replies vaguely, "I really don't know, old boy. We've cleared as far as here." The answer is useless. Wellstead returns to the jeeps to assess casualties. In Reg Seeking's jeep, the wireless operator clutches a shoulder wound but says nothing. Trooper Mackenzie, hit in the arm, keeps firing his Browning. Reg applies a tourniquet. Other wounded lie near the jeeps. Wellstead orders Seekings to pull out with the injured and call for an ambulance. Further down the road, Trooper Digger, Weller, launches 2-inch mortar bombs into the woods. Troopers Jemson and Glide bring more ammunition. In the chaos, control breaks down. Wellstead focuses on salvaging McGinn's jeep. He reverses it into position so its guns can be used again. The barn nearby is engulfed in flames. Smoke chokes the courtyard. Lieutenant Trower and Trooper Dean find two occupied slit trenches behind the structure. They throw grenades and clear them. Lieutenant Red Hunter, enraged by the death of his crew, pounds at the barn door. He hurls grenades in blind fury. Wellstead sends him to fetch an ambulance. It gives him purpose and removes him from danger. Trower reports more Germans in the woods beside the field. Some break cover, surrendering with hands raised. As the gunfire fades, Wellstead grabs his Tommy gun and leads a clearing patrol. Sergeant Jack Terry moves along the exposed flank. Wellstead skirts the barn. They flush 4 Germans from a trench. Each time they raise their hands, confusion follows. Orders to disarm make them drop them again. The back and forth continues until they are marched off. The carnage is appalling. German dead lie in tangled heaps. The survivors, silent and shaking, are searched and sent rearwards. Returning to the jeeps, Wellstead sees Corporal Hay tending to the wounded. Grundy, Hunter's rear gunner, is mortally hit. Trooper Andrews, the front gunner, bleeds from a neck wound. Wellstead speaks to them both. Despite all efforts, Andrews dies that night. Grundy follows soon after. Major Pote joins the group. He points to a German 88mm gun in the woods. Its crew is dead, killed by mortar fire before they could fire. Their bodies lie piled around the breach. Orders arrive to cease fire on sight of a white Viray light. The flare streaks into the sky. In the distance, red beret paratroopers push into the trees. The 6th Airborne Division begins clearing the right flank. The Special Air Service clears the immediate woodland and regroups. Wellstead requests the paratroopers to lead. The jeeps will support. The request is denied by reality. The airborne troops are near collapse. They have marched and fought for 3 days without rest or transport. Rations are gone. When fire comes from a red house ahead, they halt and lie down. They do not rise again. The Special Air Service pushes forward. Complaints rise behind them. Bloody jeeps. Still, the unit leads the way. Captain Johnny Cooper's section goes first. Wellstead's jeep follows. Only 100 meters ahead, the red house opens fire. Beyond it, a long, straight road runs between dense cover. Cooper's men return fire, suppressing the threat. Wellstead rides back to the paratroop commander and insists the infantry move forward. The terrain is too risky for jeeps alone. The Germans reappear. They cross the road 550 meters ahead. The Special Air Service responds with deadly fire. Jeeps fan out. Tanks arrive, fire several bursts, then veer off into a boggy field and become stuck. The unexpected tank fire causes confusion. The paratroopers take cover again. Wellstead urges them on but receives blank stares. He returns to the jeeps. Wellstead joins Sergeant Tom Rennie's jeep and drives forward. Together, they double their fire. The tanks struggle to move. The jeeps lead alone, once again. The next contact comes without warning. Germans in the trees are cut down swiftly. One soldier stands frozen in fear, unable to flee or surrender. Johnny Cooper, Reg Seekings, Jack Terry, and Paddy Kennedy dismount. They sweep the woods and take prisoners. The column halts at a knife wrist across the road. It is not yet deployed, but is covered by fire from a house and low ridge. Wellstead waits for infantry support. Paddy Kennedy dismounts, Bren in hand, and advances alone. Paratroopers, mistaking him for an officer, call him Sir and follow. Kennedy signals. The jeeps move forward, laying down fire. Wellstead shouts, Hände hoch! Kommen Sie hier! Ich töte Sie nicht! Prisoners emerge at once, hands raised. The column pushes on. Kennedy refuses to ride. Paratroopers supply him with spare magazines. He leads them from the front. Raid comes into view. Resistance from buildings and ditches is silenced. More prisoners are taken. The town square is secured. The The jeeps take up defensive positions. Wellstead reports to the paratroop commander. He is told to hold the town. The 6th Airborne Division will take the railway line ahead. Dozens more prisoners are marched back. Many are stunned and broken. Major Pote arrives. Wellstead briefs him on the outcome. General Gale expresses satisfaction. Over 50 Germans are killed. Around 80 are captured. The 1st Special Air Service loses 2 men killed and 2 wounded. The airborne infantry suffer no losses. In the square, exhausted paratroopers slump to the ground. The Special Air Service hands out their last remaining K rations from Sniper's Alley. It is not enough. Major Pote leads the jeeps back to Erle. From there, they turn north towards Racefeld. Damaged roads and battle debris slow them. British tanks thunder past in pursuit of retreating German units. The Special Air Service halts in the outskirts. They secure accommodation in local farms and villages. The locals offer no resistance. Many appear resigned, weary, and defeated. The halt at Racefeld gives the men a chance to rest, reorganize, and prepare. Eastward, the war rolls on. During the morning of March 29th, 1945, C Troop spends their time maintaining their jeeps and replenishing supplies. Captain Alex Muirhead arrives from A Troop, which is currently resting in Wessel. He brings his vehicle forward to have a wireless set installed. Lieutenant Red Hunter is transferred to Frankfurt's headquarters. The 2nd Special Air Service continues its advance in support of the main thrust towards Münster. The regiment is ordered to cover the exposed left flank of the 6th Independent Guards Armored Brigade. The formation pushes steadily through Dülmen towards its objective. Operating ahead of and alongside the main armored columns, patrols from the 2nd Special Air Service screen the flank. They engage scattered enemy resistance and secure key junctions to prevent counterattacks. The terrain is poor. The jeeps crawl forward along muddy, rutted farm tracks. One vehicle becomes bogged down. The entire troop halts to recover it. As the men work to free the stranded jeep, British observers spot movement in the distance. A group of German soldiers crosses open ground 2 fields away. Lieutenant Lord John Manners, son of the Dowager Duchess of Rutland, reacts at once. He instructs Sergeant Harry Vickers to find Captain Jim Mackey and report the sighting. Vickers reverses down the track. He meets Captain Mackey already approaching the position. On hearing the report, Mackey is displeased by the lack of immediate engagement. He gives orders at once. Vickers and his 2-man team are to attack the enemy on the flank. Mackey himself will lead a frontal assault. The ground between the Special Air Service and the enemy is open and exposed. As the men move forward, the Germans open fire. Sergeant Vickers is struck in the left arm. He is evacuated to a nearby American casualty clearing station. The wound is serious. The bullet has shattered the bone and removed a 2-inch section from the upper arm. Vickers is stabilized and flown back to Great Britain for further treatment. The rest of the 2 Special Air Service continues to push east, maintaining contact with the advancing armored units and keeping the left flank secure. On the morning of March 30th, 1945, D Troop and Captain Ian Wellstead's C Troop set out cross-country under Major Harry Pote's direction. After traversing open fields, they reach the main road and head north through Borken, continuing to the village of Vesicki. The jeeps are parked along the roadside while orders are confirmed. Now attached to the 7th Armored Division, famously known as the Desert Rats, 1 Special Air Service is tasked with supporting the 11th Hussars, Prince Albert's own, a reconnaissance regiment held in high regard. As the Staghounds and Dingo Scout cars pass in tight formation, the Special Air Service men look on with respect. Their stay in Vesicki is brief. Following a quick lunch, the column advances again. Soon, they are brought to a crawl by a dense traffic jam. Allied vehicles stretch 2 abreast down a narrow road. Despite the distant growl of artillery, the atmosphere feels oddly still. Approaching the shattered outskirts of Sudlone, Wellstead leads C Troop off the main road to scout a route forward. The town lies in ruins. Streets are cratered, roofs are gone, and rubble spills across junctions. Bulldozers work steadily, but finding a navigable path takes nearly an hour. Maps offer little help. Many features have vanished under debris. Even familiar landmarks are hard to place. Eventually, Wellstead identifies a usable track, heading northwest in the direction of the Dutch border, where D Squadron is believed to be operating. Just outside the town, 2 British infantrymen lie prone behind their Bren guns. Questioned about the road ahead, they reply uncertainly, "Don't know, sir. None of our chaps anyway." With no better guidance, Wellstead pushes on. At a 5-way junction, tire marks in the sand suggest D Troop has passed this way. He follows the trail north. Roughly a kilometer later, Trooper Peter Middleton signals movement in the woods. On closer approach, the vehicles are confirmed as friendly. C Troop rejoins Major Pote and D Troop without incident. The rejoined units have recently been in contact. D Troop has assisted a detachment of hussars pinned down when their armored car was knocked out. Captain Mike McReady, the 1st Special Air Service medical officer, treats the wounded. Captured German soldiers sit under watch, waiting for transport. The situation remains tense, with German forces pressed hard against the Rhine. Wellstead is ordered to harbor C Troop just north of Sudlone. He locates a suitable farm east of the road, sends Middleton and Reyes forward to secure it, then brings up the rest of the troop and transmits their new grid reference to Pote. That evening, the troop receives a rare comfort: fresh food. The farmer provides eggs and milk, and conversation over dinner turns to local intelligence. He reveals that a Nazi Party official is hiding nearby. Trooper Dennis Weinman is sent to detain him. The man is captured without resistance and transferred to Stadlone for interrogation. As dusk sets in, Troopers Pee-wee and David Barnby arrive with new orders. D Troop is now positioned to the west of Sudlone. In the morning, Wellstead's C Troop will resume its attachment to the 11th Hussars and continue the advance. The men sleep beside their jeeps, weapons within reach. Throughout the night, the sound of distant artillery echoes across the fields. Elsewhere that day, a patrol from the 2nd Special Air Service runs into serious trouble. Advancing through wooded terrain, they approach what they believe to be a friendly tank group. Suddenly, the tanks open fire. The vehicles are German, 3 Tiger tanks supported by infantry. 1 Special Air Service jeep is crushed under a tank. 2 others are abandoned and fall into enemy hands. 2 troopers go missing, but successfully return 4 days later. In a separate action, another 2 Special Air Service patrols push 16 kilometers beyond the front line. Heavy fire forces them to withdraw. Despite the pressure, they return intact, bringing several prisoners with them. By the last day of March 1945, artillery fire surprises the men of 1st Special Air Service. The guns are now aimed southwest, towards positions they had only just vacated. That morning, D Troop returns and reports German soldiers still attempting to break through from the south. They have spent a tense night on a local farm, hearing movement nearby, but avoiding direct contact. After lunch, Captain Ian Wellstead's C Troop replaces them. The unit moves through Stadlone to the outskirts of Wullen and reports to the armored car commander they are assigned to support. Meanwhile, a troop tasked with reaching Wessem becomes delayed at farms near Wullen. A Dingo armored car is sent to guide them in. As the Dingo nears its destination, Wellstead climbs aboard and requests a meeting with the troop commander. The detachment consists of a staghound, a Dingo, and 1 armored car, led by a young lieutenant. Clearly relieved by Wellstead's arrival, the officer admits he has no direct orders for the Special Air Service. He explains that hidden German Spandau machine guns on the right flank have halted their progress. Suddenly, a sharp burst of rifle fire rings out. Rounds crack through the air around Wellstead. He ducks behind the armored car for cover. The noise builds. Sniper rounds whine overhead. With no clear objectives and the danger growing, Wellstead mounts the armored car as it pulls back. At the same time, his own jeeps come under scattered fire. He immediately orders a sweep of the nearby farms and surrounding fields. Sergeant Jeff Duvivier's section, covered by Trooper Dennis Wainman, advances with Tommy guns and Bren guns. On the right, they search farm buildings and find two terrified elderly civilians cowering in a roadside ditch. On the left, Wellstead positions jeeps for supporting fire. A Veray light arcs skyward. It is the signal to begin the assault. Heavy fire erupts from the Special Air Service jeeps. Tracer, ball, and incendiary rounds slash through the air. With suppressing fire laid down, Lieutenant Tony Trower's section, along with Wellstead, advances toward the farmstead. Another Veray light signals the halt. Inside the buildings, more frightened civilians are found. Many have taken shelter in cellars and attics. Behind one shed, Wellstead discovers German bicycles, gas masks, and other discarded military kit, but no enemy soldiers. With the sniper threat momentarily subdued, attention shifts back to the Spandaus. Swag Jemson's mortar team prepares to cover an armored car as it cautiously reverses along the Wessam Road. Two jeeps provide flank support. A distant sound of tank tracks draws concern. Wellstead sends Trower to fetch a bazooka. As the Staghound moves to the bend in the road, a sudden blast of Spandau fire opens from hidden positions. The armored car slams into reverse, abandoning Jemson exposed in the open. Jemson dives into a ditch and crawls to safety. Mortar rounds thump into likely enemy positions, setting nearby haystacks and barns alight. The fight grows more precarious. German positions remain hidden, their fire intense. The mission objective is out of reach, and the jeeps are too lightly armored for a direct assault. Still, Wellstead hesitates. A withdrawal feels dishonorable, especially in front of the 11th Hussars. He turns to the young lieutenant in the armored car and asks, "What would you like us to do now?" The officer ducks briefly, then answers, "I don't know, old boy. I think I'd get out of here." That settles it. Wellstead orders the withdrawal at once. German shellfire begins falling in earnest, as if to reinforce the decision. The Hussars pull back, C Troop follows. Wellstead instructs Johnny Cooper to lead, then waves Middleton past. He climbs into the final jeep. Shells land dangerously close as the column races down the road. Cooper veers off onto a farm track where the jeeps shelter beneath trees. One round strikes near Middleton's vehicle. A thick metal fragment embeds itself in the bonnet, but causes no harm. At a quiet rally point, Wellstead moves from jeep to jeep. He checks camouflage, spacing, and defensive readiness. Sporadic shellfire still strikes the main road. The enemy seems to expect a retreat that way. Eventually, the barrage subsides. Wellstead instructs the jeeps to move independently back to Woolen. He follows last, counting them as they go. Back in Woolen, Wellstead reports the encounter to Major Harry Pote. Despite the frustration of the day's action, Pote reassures him that their support had been appreciated by Special Air Service Brigade. As night falls, C Troop billets in local houses. Wellstead meets with the Hussar Squadron Commander. The enemy is stiffening its defense. A new plan is issued. The Special Air Service is to rejoin the 11th Hussars beyond a house at first light. When Wellstead returns late to his billet, he learns that a troop of tanks sent along the same route faced similar resistance. Their experience confirms the intensity of the fight. While one Special Air Service holds Woolen, two Special Air Service receives new orders. On March 31st, 1945, they are placed in reserve under the 8th Corps. After weeks of reconnaissance and flanking actions across the Wesel-Münster corridor, they are temporarily withdrawn from frontline operations. Now held in readiness, 2 Special Air Service awaits further orders. Their next mission may come at any time: flank protection, exploitation of breakthroughs, or a rapid strike in response to a German counterattack. For now, they regroup, refit, and prepare. And this concludes today's episode. In this first part of our Operation Archway series, we've followed the Special Air Service through the opening phase of their final campaign in Northwest Europe. In March 1945, they landed across the Rhine, linked up with British and Canadian armored divisions, and spearheaded deep reconnaissance into enemy-held territory. Along the way, they fought through ambushes, seized towns ahead of the main advance, and paved the way for the Allied push towards the heart of Germany. But March was only the beginning. In Part 2, we follow the Special Air Service through April and May 1945, as they cross the Elbe, enter Bergen-Belsen, capture Kiel and Lübeck, and confront the final collapse of Nazi Germany. What lies ahead are scenes of horror, moments of triumph, and the final hard miles of a long and costly war. Until then, keep your wits sharp, your courage steady, and remember, sometimes the most incredible victories come from the unlikeliest of places. This is Michael Wires, signing off from the Special Forces in World War II podcast. See you in the next episode. And that concludes this mission briefing, fellow warriors of knowledge. We've navigated through the trenches of information, delving deep into the battlefields of history. As we wrap up this episode in our campaign for understanding, remember that knowledge is your most potent weapon. Stay vigilant and keep sharpening your intellectual arsenal. We'll rendezvous again for another episode, continuing our relentless pursuit of enlightenment. Until then, keep your mind sharp, your curiosity burning, and your determination unwavering. Simultaneously, you are hereby alerted to our outposts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, fortifying our information dissemination. Should you possess any pertinent intelligence to bolster our mission, transmit your findings with no hesitation. Your contributions shall be prominently acknowledged within the operational archives. Furthermore, for those prepared to provide substantial reinforcement, navigate to our Patreon forward base and enlist. Your support is integral to sustaining our forward thrust. Carry forth the legacy. Dismissed.